let's be real, staying productive isn't always easy. We all want to feel in control, to stay focused, and to achieve our goals. But life happens, stress builds up, emotions take over, and suddenly we lose our momentum. In those moments you might ask yourself, why can't I stay on track? How can I manage my emotions and get things done? As Epictetus once said, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. The key to mastering your emotions isn't about ignoring them, it's about understanding them and using them to your advantage. In today's episode on Stoic Echoes US, we'll explore simple yet powerful tips inspired by Stoic wisdom to help you stay calm, focused, and productive every single day. These aren't just theories, they're practical steps you can apply right now. So, if you're ready to take charge of your emotions and unlock your productivity, let's get started. 1. Break through self-doubt. How often do you find yourself stuck, questioning whether you're truly capable of achieving the things you dream of? Maybe it's the fear of starting something new, or perhaps you're halfway through a project and that nagging voice of self-doubt whispers, "What if I'm not good enough?" It's a familiar feeling for so many of us. And it's easy to let that voice take over, convincing us to stay where we are, safe in the comfort zone. But here's the truth. You have more potential within you than you realize. Untapped, waiting to be unleashed. The key to unlocking it lies not in some grand life-changing moment, but in the small, deliberate steps you take every day to push past those mental barriers. Self-doubt is like standing at the foot of a mountain, staring up at the peak, and telling yourself, you'll never make it. The more you focus on the height of the climb, the more overwhelming it seems. But here's the secret. You don't need to conquer the mountain in one leap. All you need to do is take the first step, then another, and keep moving forward. Think about this. Marcus Aurelius, one of history's greatest Stoic philosophers, once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." What he meant is that your circumstances don't define you. Your mindset does. The way you choose to see challenges, setbacks, and obstacles determines whether they become stepping stones or roadblocks. Self-doubt thrives on fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of not being enough. But every time you let fear stop you, you allow it to define your limits. You stay in your comfort zone where it feels safe, but also where growth is impossible. Picture a runner training for a marathon. They don't start by running 26 miles on day one. They start small, maybe a single mile, maybe less. But with each run, they build strength and confidence. The same is true for you. Each small step you take, no matter how insignificant it feels, builds momentum. It's not about being fearless, it's about acting in spite of your fear. Let me share a story. A friend of mine, Sarah, always dreamed of starting her own business, but was paralyzed by self-doubt. She'd spent years working a steady job, convincing herself that she wasn't ready, that she didn't know enough, or that she'd fail if she tried. One day, she decided to take just one small step. She signed up for a free online course on entrepreneurship. That one action led to another, and then another. Over time, she built the skills and confidence she needed to launch her business. Today, she's thriving, not because she was fearless, but because she chose to act despite her fears. What's holding you back right now? What's one small step you can take today to move closer to your goals? Here's the lesson. Your potential is limitless, but it's up to you to choose whether to let fear and self-doubt hold you back, or to push forward and see what you're truly capable of. Start small. Identify one area of your life where doubt has kept you stuck. It might be a project you've been postponing or a goal you've been too afraid to pursue. Take one step, just one, in the direction of that goal. It doesn't need to be perfect, it just needs to be progress. Each step will build your confidence and chip away at the doubts that have been holding you back. Remember, the people you admire didn't achieve greatness by being fearless or perfect. They succeeded because they faced their fears and kept moving forward. You can do the same. You've got what it takes. Now it's time to prove it to yourself and to the world. Will you take that first step today? 2. Fuel your inner drive. Starting something new, a project, a goal, or even a fresh chapter in life often fills us with excitement. In those early moments, we feel unstoppable, driven by a surge of motivation. But let's be honest, what happens when that initial thrill fades? When the day-to-day grind sets in and the obstacles start piling up, motivation alone won't be enough to keep you moving forward. Motivation is like a spark. It's powerful at first, but fleeting. It lights the fire, but it doesn't keep it burning. What sustains you when the spark dims is discipline and a deep connection to your purpose. These are the forces that carry you through the hard days, the moments when you don't feel like showing up, and the times when quitting seems easier than continuing. Think back to a time in your life when you achieved something meaningful. Were you motivated every single day? Probably not. There were likely days when you felt tired, uninspired, or overwhelmed. But you still showed up. That's discipline in action, the ability to keep going, not because you feel like it, but because you've committed to the process. The Stoics, known for their profound wisdom, believed that self-discipline is the foundation of true strength and freedom. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This means that obstacles aren't meant to stop you, they're meant to shape you. The challenges you face are not roadblocks, but stepping stones, opportunities to grow stronger and more resilient. When you align your actions with a clear purpose, you become unstoppable. Let me share a story about a colleague of mine, James. He had always dreamed of running a marathon, but struggled with consistency. At first, he was motivated. He bought new gear, mapped out a training plan, and felt energized. But a few weeks in, his motivation began to waver. Early mornings felt harder, and the idea of running in the rain seemed unbearable. What kept him going wasn't the fleeting excitement of the goal, but his deeper purpose, proving to himself that he could finish what he started. On days when he didn't feel like running, he reminded himself why he began, laced up his shoes, and took it one step at a time. Eventually, he crossed the finish line, not because he was motivated every day, but because he was disciplined and connected to his purpose. Now, let me ask you, what is your deeper purpose? Why are you pursuing your goals? Take a moment to reflect on what truly drives you. When you identify that core reason, you won't need to rely on motivation to keep going. Purpose gives you clarity, and discipline gives you the strength to act, even on the hard days. The truth is, finding your inner drive isn't about waiting for the perfect moment or the right feeling. It's about taking action consistently, no matter what. So, what's one step you can take today to move closer to your goal? Remember, the path to success isn't paved with constant motivation, but with steady effort, day after day. Obstacles will come, but they're not there to stop you. They're there to help you grow. When you connect with your purpose and choose discipline over comfort, you'll find that your inner drive is limitless. 3. Face fear, find growth. Fear, it's something we all encounter, whether it's the fear of failure, judgment, or the unknown. It can feel overwhelming, like an invisible wall, holding you back from the life and opportunities you truly desire. We tell ourselves, we're not ready, avoid risks, and stay within the bounds of what feels safe. But the truth is, fear is the barrier between where you are now and where you want to be. The Stoic philosopher Seneca once said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Think about that for a moment though. Many times has fear stopped you, not because of what actually happened, but because of the worst-case scenarios you created in your mind. Fear thrives in our imagination, magnifying failure, rejection, or judgment, until it becomes paralyzing. But in reality, fear is rarely as powerful as it seems. It's not the obstacle itself that holds us back, it's how we perceive it. The key to breaking through the fear barrier isn't about eliminating fear entirely. That's impossible. Fear will always exist. Instead, it's about learning to face it, to see it as a signal that you're on the verge of growth. The Stoics believed that adversity and fear are opportunities to build resilience. They taught that by leaning into fear rather than running from it, we can transform it into a tool for strength. So, how do you do this? First, acknowledge your fear. Don't suppress it or pretend it doesn't exist. Ask yourself, what am I really afraid of? Is it failure, rejection, or uncertainty? When you name your fear, you take away some of its power. It becomes less of an all-encompassing shadow and more of a challenge you can confront. Next, change your perspective. Start seeing fear as a sign that you're stepping outside your comfort zone, that you're pushing yourself towards something meaningful. The areas of life that scare us the most are often the ones that hold the greatest potential for growth. For example, think about someone starting a new business. The fear of failure is real, but it's also a sign that they're pursuing something bold, something worth risking for. By shifting your mindset, fear becomes less of a roadblock and more of a motivator. But perspective alone isn't enough, you need action. Fear thrives when you stand still, but it loses its grip when you move forward, even in small steps. The Stoics emphasized that while we can't control outcomes, we can control our actions. Each small step you take chips away at fear's power. Think about the first time you stepped into something that scared you. Maybe it was speaking in front of a crowd, taking on a new challenge, or having a hard conversation. At first, the fear felt insurmountable, but once you took that first step, it began to fade. The thing you feared wasn't as overwhelming as you imagined. This is the power of action. Momentum builds courage. Let me share a story. A friend of mine, Emily, was terrified of public speaking. She avoided it for years, convinced she wasn't good enough. But one day, she decided to face her fear. She started small, speaking up in meetings, then volunteering to give short presentations. Each step was uncomfortable, but with every attempt, her confidence grew. Today, she speaks at conferences, inspiring others with her story. Her fear didn't disappear, it transformed into a source of strength. What's one small action you can take today to face it? Fear is not your enemy, it's your guide. It points you toward the areas where you need to grow, the places where you're holding yourself back. The next time fear arises, Don't shrink away from it. Step into it. Acknowledge it. Take a small step forward, and let action be your antidote. With every step you take, you're not just overcoming fear, you're becoming stronger, more resilient, and closer to becoming the person you're meant to be. Fear doesn't have to dictate your life. Use it as fuel to break through barriers and move toward your goals. So, what will you do today to step into your fear and take control of your journey? The choice is yours. 4. Turn goals into action. Have you ever set a big, exciting goal, only to find yourself months later, stuck in the same place, frustrated and unsure of how to move forward? It's a common experience. Dreaming about success feels thrilling at first, but without clear, actionable steps, that energy fades into confusion and overwhelm. The truth is, success doesn't happen by accident. It requires a plan. The Stoics understood this deeply. They didn't just dream of lofty ideals. They focused on what they could control and broke their larger ambitions into small, deliberate actions. Without clear goals, they believed, we drift aimlessly, chasing things that don't align with who we truly want to become. So, how do you stop drifting and start moving toward meaningful progress? The first step is clarity. You need to define exactly what you want. Vague goals like, I want to be successful, or I want to be healthier, won't get you anywhere. What does success look like for you? Is it earning a specific promotion, running a marathon, or starting a business? What does being healthier mean? Is it losing 10 pounds, eating more vegetables, or exercising 3 times a week? The clearer your goal, the easier it is to map out a path forward. But clarity alone isn't enough. You also need to make your goals actionable. It's not enough to write down a dream. You have to break it into small, manageable steps you can take every day or week. This is where many people fail. They set ambitious goals, but don't create a plan to achieve them, leaving themselves overwhelmed and stuck. The Stoics believed in focusing on the process, not the outcome. They knew that success isn't built on dramatic, overnight changes, but on small, consistent actions. Let's say your goal is to write a book. At first, the idea feels overwhelming, but if you break it down into smaller tasks, writing 500 words a day or completing 1 chapter a week, it suddenly becomes manageable. Each small step is a win, and with every step, you build momentum. This approach not only makes your goal achievable, but also keeps you motivated along the way. Let me share a story about my friend Sarah. She had always dreamed of running a marathon, but felt intimidated by the sheer distance. Instead of focusing on the 26.2 miles, she broke her goal into smaller, actionable steps. She started by running 1 mile, then 2, gradually increasing her distance each week. Along the way, she celebrated small victories, like completing her first 5K. By focusing on the process rather than the finish line, she built the confidence and endurance to reach her goal. What about you? What's a goal you've been putting off because it feels too big or overwhelming? What's one small step you could take today to get started? Another key to achieving your goals is tracking your progress. It's not enough to set a goal. You need to regularly evaluate how you're doing. Are you moving forward? Do you need to adjust your actions? This kind of self-reflection was central to the Stoic philosophy. They constantly assessed their actions and made adjustments to stay on course, no matter how challenging the journey became. Tracking your progress not only keeps you accountable, but also helps you see how far you've come, which can be incredibly motivating. Lastly, it's important to stay flexible. Life rarely goes exactly as planned, and obstacles are inevitable. The key is to adapt without losing sight of your goal. If one path doesn't work, find another. The Stoics believed in accepting what they couldn't control, while focusing all their energy on what they could influence. When you set clear, actionable goals, break them into manageable steps, and stay committed to the process, you'll build the resilience to overcome challenges and keep moving forward. Take some time today to define a goal that matters to you. Make it specific, break it down into actionable steps, and start with what you can control. Remember, the process is just as important as the outcome. With patience, consistency, and discipline, you'll find yourself not only achieving your goals, but also becoming the person you've always wanted to be. So, what's your next step? The journey starts now. 5. Strength through resilience. We've all been there, those moments when life throws us off course, whether it's a failed project, a missed opportunity, or a personal struggle that leaves us feeling defeated. It's easy to think about giving up when things don't go as planned, but the truth is, your ability to rise above these challenges depends on one thing: your mindset. A resilient mindset is what allows you to get back up every time you fall, to keep moving forward, even when the road feels impossibly hard. Resilience isn't about avoiding failure, it's about how you face it, how you learn from it, and how you use it to grow stronger. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. They didn't fear adversity, they embraced it as a necessary part of life. Seneca, the great Stoic philosopher, once said, "Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body." It's a powerful reminder that the struggles we face aren't meant to break us, they're meant to build us. The key to resilience lies in how you choose to view challenges. Instead of seeing them as roadblocks, what if you saw them as stepping stones? Think about the most resilient people you know, the ones who keep going, no matter what. They don't let failure define them. Instead, they use it as fuel to push forward. Resilience is about showing up, even when you feel like you've been knocked down. It's about asking yourself, what can I learn from this? The Stoics believed that growth doesn't come from comfort. It comes from facing adversity head-on. So the next time you encounter a setback, try to see it as an opportunity to build your inner strength. Failure isn't the end, it's simply a signal to adapt, adjust, and keep moving forward. Let me share a story. I once knew a man named David who lost his job unexpectedly. For weeks, he felt like the world was against him, and he sank into self-doubt. But instead of letting that setback define him, he decided to approach it differently. He asked himself what he could learn from the experience, and realized he had always wanted to start his own business. With no job to fall back on, he began taking small, deliberate steps toward his dream. At first it was slow and uncertain, but with each step, his confidence grew. Today, David runs a thriving business, and he credits that difficult moment as the catalyst for his success. What about you? Is there a challenge in your life that could be the start of something new if you approached it with resilience? Another key to resilience is self-compassion. When things go wrong, it's easy to be your own worst critic, but that only drains your energy and motivation. Instead, try being kind to yourself. Mistakes are part of being human, and they don't define you. What defines you is how you respond, whether you choose to learn and grow, or let setbacks hold you back. Resilient people also stay grounded in their values. When life gets chaotic, it's easy to lose sight of who you are and what you stand for, but staying true to your core beliefs gives you the strength to weather any storm. When you know what matters most to you, you can keep moving forward, no matter how tough things get. Routines can also play a big role in building resilience. When life feels out of control, small daily habits can create a sense of stability. Whether it's a morning walk, journaling, or taking a moment to reflect, these practices help reinforce your inner strength. And don't forget gratitude. Even in the hardest times, there's always something to be thankful for. Gratitude shifts your focus from what you've lost to what you still have. It helps you see the lessons in every setback and the opportunities in every challenge. Resilience isn't something you develop overnight, it's a lifelong practice. But every time you embrace a challenge, every time you choose to learn from failure, you strengthen your ability to handle whatever life throws at you. The Stoics taught us that we can't control the world around us, but we can control how we respond. And when we respond with resilience, we grow stronger, wiser, and more capable of achieving our goals. So the next time life tests you, don't shy away from it. Embrace the challenge, let it fuel your growth, and trust that with each step forward, you're becoming the person you were meant to be. What's one step you can take today to strengthen your resilience? The choice is yours. 6. Master your emotions, sharpen focus. Emotions are one of the most powerful forces in our lives. They can inspire us to achieve greatness or completely derail our progress. How often have you let frustration, anger, or stress cloud your judgment, leading to decisions that you later regretted? Or perhaps you've been so overwhelmed by emotions that you couldn't focus on what needed to be done. Mastering your emotions doesn't mean suppressing them or pretending they don't exist. Instead, it's about understanding and managing them so they don't control your actions. It's about using emotional intelligence to navigate life's challenges with clarity and purpose. The Stoics believed that emotions, while natural, should never dictate our behavior. They didn't aim to eliminate emotions, but instead cultivated calm, rational responses to whatever life threw their way. Epictetus famously said, "We cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them." This timeless wisdom reminds us that while we can't control what happens, we can always control how we react. Mastering your emotions is also about mastering your focus. Emotions can be a massive distraction, pulling you in different directions and clouding your ability to think clearly or stay on task. But with emotional mastery, you can separate the feeling from the action. You can acknowledge the emotion without letting it dictate your behavior. For example, think about a time when you received harsh criticism from a colleague or friend. Your initial reaction might have been anger or defensiveness, maybe even the urge to lash out. But what if, instead of reacting impulsively, you paused, took a deep breath, and reflected on the situation? By doing so, you'd have the opportunity to choose a thoughtful response zone aligned with your long-term goals rather than your temporary feelings. This is emotional mastery in action, recognizing the emotion but choosing to act with intention and control. One effective way to master your emotions is through mindfulness. While the Stoics didn't practice modern mindfulness as we know it, their teachings align closely with the concept of being present and aware. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "Look within. Within is the fountain of good, and it will ever bubble up if thou wilt ever dig." This means being aware of your thoughts and emotions in real time, observing them without judgment, and deciding how you want to move forward. Mindfulness allows you to step back from the chaos of emotions, giving you the clarity to respond rather than react. Another essential skill is emotional regulation, identifying your triggers and finding healthy ways to manage them. Whether it's deep breathing, reframing your perspective, or stepping away to clear your mind, regulating your emotions helps you stay calm and focused, even in the face of adversity. But emotional mastery isn't just about managing negative emotions, it's also about embracing and channeling positive emotions like joy, excitement, and enthusiasm. These emotions can be powerful motivators, but they too require balance. The key is to harness these feelings and direct them toward productive actions rather than letting them lead to impulsiveness or distraction. When you combine emotional mastery with sharp focus, you develop an incredible ability to navigate challenges. Focus allows you to block out distractions and stay aligned with your goals, while emotional intelligence ensures that your focus remains steady even during stressful times. Together, they create a toolkit that empowers you to face life's difficulties with strength and purpose. So, let me ask you, what emotions have been controlling you lately? How often do you find yourself reacting impulsively instead of responding thoughtfully? How can you shift your response to these emotions in a way that serves your greater purpose? By learning to master your emotions and sharpen your focus, you'll find that you can navigate setbacks with grace, stay aligned with your goals, and create a life of clarity and progress. Remember, the power lies within you, not in what happens to you, but in how you choose to respond. 7. Winning habits, lasting success. Success isn't about grand gestures or sudden bursts of motivation, it's about the small, consistent actions you take every single day. It's easy to get excited when you set a new goal, but the real challenge is staying committed when the excitement fades and the grind begins. Building winning habits is the foundation of a meaningful and successful life. And as the Stoics taught us, discipline and consistency are the keys to achieving your potential. Habits shape who you are, and they determine the quality of your life. But they're not built overnight. They require patience, deliberate effort, and a willingness to start small. For example, if you want to improve your health, don't aim to work out for an hour every day, right away. Instead, start with a 10-minute walk or a few minutes of stretching. When you make habits easy to accomplish, at first you're more likely to stick with them, and over time, these small actions compound into significant results. The Stoics were masters of this approach. Marcus Aurelius, for instance, practiced daily self-reflection, a simple but consistent habit that kept him grounded and focused on his values. He didn't rely on fleeting motivation to guide him, he relied on discipline. This same principle applies to any habit you want to build, whether it's journaling, meditating, or prioritizing your most important tasks. The key is to align your habits with the life you want to create. Think about it. If you want to be more productive, are your daily habits supporting that goal. If you want to improve your mental health, are you making time for practices like mindfulness or physical activity? Your habits should serve as stepping stones toward the person you want to become. Let me share a story. A friend of mine, Sarah, decided she wanted to run a marathon. At first, the idea seemed impossible. She wasn't a runner and had no experience with endurance training. Instead of overwhelming herself with unrealistic expectations, she started small. Her first goal was simply to jog for 5 minutes a day. It wasn't much, but it was manageable. Over time, those 5-minute runs turned into 10, then 20, and eventually she was running several miles a week. A year later, Sarah crossed the finish line of her first marathon. What made her journey successful wasn't her talent or her motivation, it was her consistency. She showed up every day, no matter how she felt. And those small efforts added up to something extraordinary. What about you? What small action could you take today to move closer to your goals? Consistency is the cornerstone of building habits. It's not about being perfect. It's about showing up, even on the days when it feels hard. One way to stay consistent is to track your progress. Use a journal, a habit tracker, or even a simple checklist to hold yourself accountable. Seeing your progress, no matter how small, reinforces the idea that every step counts. And don't shy away from discomfort. It's often a sign that you're growing. The habits that lead to long-term success, like waking up early, staying focused, or pushing through a tough workout, can feel uncomfortable at first. But the more you lean into that discomfort, the easier it becomes. And eventually, those habits become second nature. Remember, setbacks are part of the process. If you slip up, don't let it derail you completely. Acknowledge the mistake, learn from it, and get back on track. Building habits isn't about perfection, it's about progress. The more consistent you are, the stronger your habits become. And over time, they'll become a natural part of who you are. So take a moment today to reflect on the habits you want to create. Start small, stay consistent, and align your habits with your long-term vision. Success isn't about doing everything at once, it's about showing up every day, even when it's hard, and trusting that those small, steady actions will lead to something great. What habit? 8. Beat procrastination. Boost productivity. We've all been there. You know there's something important that needs to be done, but instead of starting, you find yourself saying, "I'll do it later," or "tomorrow will be better." And before you know it, the day is gone and the task remains untouched. Procrastination is a sneaky thief of productivity, a habit that tricks you into avoiding discomfort in the short term while making things harder in the long run. It's like staring at a heavy weight in your path and walking around it instead of lifting it. The more you avoid it, the heavier and more overwhelming it feels. But here's the truth. The only way to lighten the load is to face it head-on. The key to overcoming procrastination lies in breaking tasks into smaller, manageable steps. The Stoics understood this well. They taught that even the most daunting challenges can be tackled by focusing on small, deliberate actions. When you stop looking at a task as a massive mountain to climb and start taking it one step at a time, it becomes less intimidating. As Seneca wisely said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." The time spent avoiding your tasks adds up, and the longer you wait, the more time you lose. Let me share a story. My friend James, a graphic designer, used to struggle with procrastination. Every time he had a big project, he'd stare at the blank canvas on his screen, overwhelmed by the pressure of creating something amazing, and then spend hours scrolling through social media instead. One day, he decided to try a new approach. Instead of focusing on the entire project, he set a timer for 15 minutes and told himself to just sketch rough ideas, nothing perfect, just something to get started. Those 15 minutes turned into an hour, and by the end of the day, he had a solid draft. James realized that breaking the task into smaller steps made it easier to start, and that small start created momentum. What about you? What's one small step you could take today to tackle something you've been putting off? Another powerful way to beat procrastination is time blocking. This simple technique involves setting aside specific periods of time to focus on a single task, without interruptions. When you dedicate focused blocks of time, you take control of your schedule, instead of letting distractions or excuses derail you. Time blocking eliminates the chance for procrastination to creep in because you've already committed to the task during that block. Similarly, the 2-minute rule is a game changer for tackling small tasks. If something will take less than 2 minutes, do it immediately. This rule works because it removes the mental resistance of starting, and once you've completed a small task, you often feel motivated to keep going. Those small wins build momentum, and before you know it, you've accomplished far more than you expected. Procrastination often has a deeper root fear of failure, fear of making mistakes, or even fear of success can hold you back. But the Stoics taught us that fear only grows when we avoid it. The only way to overcome fear is to face it directly. Ask yourself, what am I really afraid of? Is it the fear of not doing it perfectly? The fear of falling short? Once you identify the fear, you can challenge it and move forward. Remember, progress doesn't require perfection, it requires action. The Stoics believed in focusing on what you can control and letting go of the rest. Instead of worrying about the perfect outcome, focus on the process of doing your best in the moment. Lastly, be kind to yourself. Procrastination often stems from self-criticism and the pressure to be perfect, but perfectionism is the enemy of productivity. Instead of beating yourself up for not starting sooner, celebrate the progress you're making now. Every step forward, no matter how small, is a victory. As the Stoics taught, life isn't about being perfect, it's about showing up, learning, and growing. The next time you feel procrastination creeping in, remember this: progress happens when you take action, not when you wait. Break the task into smaller steps. Block out time to focus and face your fears with courage. Don't let procrastination steal your time or your potential. You have everything you need to succeed, so why not start today? 9. Strengthen mind and body. We've all heard the phrase, a healthy mind in a healthy body, but how often do we truly live by it? In today's fast-paced world, many of us pour all our energy into our careers, relationships, or personal goals, while neglecting the foundation that supports it, our physical and mental health. The truth is, your mind and body are deeply connected, and if one suffers, the other will inevitably follow. To unlock your full potential, you must care for both. Because a strong body fuels a sharp mind, and a resilient mind empowers a capable body. Physical fitness is often seen as a chore, something we do out of obligation rather than joy. But it's so much more than that. Taking care of your body isn't just about looking good. It's about feeling good, boosting your mood, sharpening your focus, and building the energy you need to tackle life's challenges. Exercise doesn't just strengthen your muscles, it strengthens your mind, improving cognitive function and emotional stability. The Stoics understood this connection well. They believed that mastering yourself meant caring for every aspect of your being, your thoughts, actions, and body. As Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Physical discipline was as important to them as mental discipline. A strong body gives you the resilience to face life's demands, while a sharp mind allows you to navigate them with clarity. Think about it: when you're tired, sluggish, or physically drained, doesn't your mind also feel foggy and unmotivated? But when you're active and energized, your thoughts are clearer, your decisions are wiser, and you're better equipped to stay calm under pressure. Strengthening your body doesn't mean you need to run marathons or spend hours at the gym. It's about finding an activity you enjoy, whether it's yoga, swimming, walking, or dancing, and committing to it consistently. The key isn't intensity, it's showing up every day and making movement a part of your life. On the other hand, building a strong mind is just as essential. A resilient mind can handle stress, adapt to change, and persevere through tough times. Mental strength isn't about avoiding challenges or pretending everything is fine. It's about facing discomfort head-on and growing from it. The Stoics believed that resilience comes from stepping outside your comfort zone, acting despite fear, and embracing uncertainty. One of the best ways to strengthen your mind is through mindfulness and self-reflection. Start each day by checking in with yourself. How do you feel? What's on your mind? What are your priorities? Taking a few moments to ground yourself can reduce stress and help you approach the day with clarity. Self-reflection also allows you to track your progress, identify areas for improvement, and celebrate your victories, no matter how small. Let me share a story. My friend Anna, a busy entrepreneur, used to feel constantly overwhelmed. Her days were packed with meetings, deadlines, and endless to-do lists, leaving her mentally and physically drained. She decided to make a change by overhauling her life. But by starting small, she began her mornings with a 10-minute walk and spent 5 minutes journaling her thoughts afterward. At first, it felt insignificant, but over time, those small habits transformed her. The walks boosted her energy and focus, while journaling helped her manage stress and stay present. Anna realized that by prioritizing her mind and body, she became more productive, resilient, and fulfilled. What about you? What small changes could you make today to strengthen your mind and body? Another powerful way to build mental resilience is by reading. The Stoics were avid readers, constantly seeking wisdom to navigate life's challenges. Reading not only broadens your perspective, but also equips you with tools to face adversity with strength and clarity. Whether it's philosophy, self-improvement, or even fiction, reading stimulates your mind and nurtures intellectual growth. Finally, emotional intelligence plays a crucial role in mental strength. Life will always throw challenges your way, but you can't control everything that happens to you. What you can control is how you respond. The Stoics taught us to observe our emotions without letting them overwhelm us. When you develop emotional intelligence, you gain the ability to stay composed, make thoughtful decisions, and handle obstacles with grace. Your mind and body are your greatest assets, and everything you want to achieve in life depends on their strength and resilience. Make time every day to nurture both. Move your body, challenge your mind, and embrace the discomfort that comes with growth. The more you invest in yourself, the sharper, stronger, and more capable you'll become. So, what's stopping you? Start today. Your future self will thank you. 10. Reflect, adapt, move forward. Life often feels like a never-ending race, chasing goals, striving for success, and pushing through challenges without pause. But how often do you stop to reflect on where you're going and what you've learned along the way? Reflection isn't just a luxury, it's the secret ingredient to growth. It's in those quiet moments of looking back that you begin to see the bigger picture, how far you've come, what's working, and what needs to change. Without reflection, you risk falling into the same patterns, making the same mistakes, or losing sight of your purpose. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic philosopher, captured this beautifully when he said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Challenges and obstacles aren't roadblocks, they're opportunities to learn, grow, and adjust your path. Reflection gives you the clarity to see those opportunities and the wisdom to adapt for the future. Let me share a story. A friend of mine, Sarah, once confided in me about feeling stuck in her career. She worked tirelessly, putting in long hours and constantly chasing deadlines, yet she felt like she wasn't making progress. One day, she decided to try something different. She started journaling for 10 minutes every evening, reflecting on her day. At first, it felt trivial, but over time, patterns began to emerge. She realized she was spending too much time on tasks that didn't align with her long-term goals. With this insight, she adjusted her approach, set clearer priorities, and began saying no to unnecessary commitments. Within months, Sarah not only felt more in control, but also started seeing tangible progress in her career. What about you? When was the last time you paused to reflect on your journey? What might you discover if you took just a few minutes to look inward? Reflection isn't complicated, but it does require honesty. Be real with yourself about what's working and what isn't. Maybe you've been procrastinating on a goal, or perhaps your habits aren't as effective as you thought. Admitting these truths can be uncomfortable, but it's the first step toward meaningful change. Once you've reflected, the next step is to adapt. Growth means evolving, and that often requires letting go of what no longer serves you. Ask yourself, what can I do differently? Maybe it's time to adjust your goals, try a new strategy, or develop healthier habits. The ability to adapt is what separates those who grow from those who stay stuck. Each adjustment, no matter how small, brings you closer to your full potential. But reflection and adaptation alone aren't enough. You must also take action. As Seneca wisely said, it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. Don't let your insights sit idle. Use them to propel yourself forward. Even small, consistent steps create momentum, and that momentum builds progress. The road to success isn't always smooth or straightforward, but by continuing to move forward, you ensure that every challenge becomes a stepping stone rather than a stumbling block. Self-reflection isn't about being hard on yourself. It's about learning, growing, and embracing the journey. Every setback is a chance to adapt, and every small step forward is progress. Make reflection a daily habit, even if it's just a few minutes. Take time to celebrate your wins, learn from your mistakes, and adjust your course. And most importantly, keep moving forward. Life isn't about perfection. It's about progress. With reflection, adaptation, and action, you'll continue to grow, evolve, and move closer to the life you truly want. So, what's one thing you can reflect on today to take that next step forward? Thank you for joining us on this journey of self-discipline, resilience, and personal growth. Remember, life isn't about perfection, it's about progress. The wisdom of the Stoics teaches us that we have the power to shape our lives no matter the obstacles we face. Each challenge is an opportunity to grow stronger, each setback a chance to rise again. So, take that first step today, set clear goals, master your emotions, and build the habits that will lead you to your fullest potential. If this message resonated with you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Stoic Echoes US. Together, let's continue to embrace the principles of Stoicism and create a life of purpose, action, and growth. Until next time, stay disciplined, stay focused, and keep pushing forward. You've got this.